Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 29 of the Hazy Sports Podcast. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. Charlie, how you doing today?
Pretty good, Jason. Special Valentine's Day episode. I know every woman dreams of their man sitting in an empty room talking to another dude on the internet on Valentine's Day.
Hopefully we can up the romance and make up for it. Also
Yeah,
Family Day weekend too, so we've got lots to celebrate.
this weekend from Thursday on has just been insane. So we got obviously the Olympics. I'm sporting my Michigan Wolverines shirt because they beat Penn State last night. Michael Hage with three helpers taking out noted knockout artist Gavin McKenna last night in the shootout. My son's in a tournament. They 1-1 to start. They got to win today to make the next round. And my daughter just got home. They're 3-0 going to the finals, and she's put up three wins and has 1.67 goals against so far in this tournament. So, and then on top of that, the Olympics happened. So it's been an awesome couple days.
Now your tournament that your son's in right now is right in Tilsonburg, isn't it? So you don't have to
Yeah,
do
right
it.
in town, about 5 minutes from here.
So after trekking down to Rochester, you get must feel nice to kind of have one in your own backyard.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that we win today and that you were wearing a Mount Bridges Cougars sweatshirt last week. And I'm hoping we set up a potential matchup versus your nephew, Hank, right? Is it Hank?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And of course, Joel is their coach who I know, and he's your brother-in-law. So I think that would be pretty unique.
yeah. That would be pretty cool. I was just out in Lucan watching them. I went there after our last episode, saw a real barn burner go down with Mount Bridges squeak out a victory there. But yeah, pretty fun for me seeing my nephews play. It definitely brings back a lot of those old memories. And speaking of hometown tournaments, we used to have the Mildmay tournament, which was the Mildmay Atom tournament, which, for about a 4 or 5 year stretch in my life, might have been like one of the most exciting weekends of the year.
Yeah, I can pretty like when that tournament started, I know for myself, because my parents were always helping out and doing stuff. You pretty much lived at the arena. Like I living off booth fries and and quarters for the arcade that they that they had. It was awesome though. Like there was nothing else to do. So I don't know. I don't even remember watching many of the games. It was just running around the arena playing foot hockey in that back
Well,
little hallway until you got chased out by Whitey.
and I always remember those arcade games being such a hit. They had Bad Dudes, and then they had that one where you could be an elf or
Yeah, Gauntlet.
Gauntlet. That I was trying to remember what that one was, but there'd be,
Don't-
people were making a good run on Gauntlet. You'd have like a crowd, around that
Yeah,
arcade, and it got pretty
and that
intense in there.
that was like one of the first games that would chirp you too. It'd be like Warrior, shot the food.
Yeah, that was great. We didn't get a lot of arcade opportunities in Mildmay. So when the Atom tournament rolled around, they brought in 3 or 4 of those games. That was pretty cool. The other
And of
thing,
course, who could forget another free roast beef dinner with corn niblets?
absolutely. It didn't take much to motivate us. As 11, 12, 13-year-old kids, you could get us to do almost anything for a free roast beef sandwich. Because actually, I remember when we got a little older, we were able to run the clocks.
Yep.
And that was a blast too. You wouldn't get paid, but you would get basically all the roast beef sandwiches you could eat for the day, and that
Chocolate milk.
and chocolate milk. That felt like a pretty good trade-off in those days. But the thing that surprised me the most when I think back of it is that they let us have live mics in there. Is remember we would announce the goals, and if somebody had a funny name, we would really try to put a little flourish on it.
I can remember running the clock with Ozzy, and he would always do the back in the day when you would hear the announcers over the TV, they'd always say, the bylaws of the city of Toronto don't allow smoking in the gardens. And I remember him pulling that off one time, and I'm pretty sure we got a talking to about just announce what's happening in the game. It's kind of weird too to think like there was a lot of teams in that, and that's a long way for some of those teams to go. And like at least when teams come here, we have hotels and we got restaurants and stuff. If you're traveling all the way to Mildmay, there's not a lot of options.
I think there was like one or two bed and breakfasts in town when we were growing up. I don't know what the rest of the team was doing. The Lighthouse Motel was probably the next best
Just
option.
rock.
Anyways, well, we've got Olympic hockey to talk about, Charlie. That's kind of the, our main focal point, I think, for the show today. We had a little tease of this type of best on best hockey with the Four Nations last year. And I don't know about you, but all I felt that first Team Canada game was like pure hockey joy. I think I had a ear to ear grin for about the first, 15, 20 minutes of that game, just almost in awe of what I was seeing out there.
It was almost like I had an anxiety before the puck drop, almost thinking, man, I hope we don't mess this up. And then within 30 seconds, it was exactly what you're saying. I'm like, this is incredible. Like when McDavid dropped that guy minute and a half into the game, I'm like, okay, this is it's go time here. Like there's no dicking around.
That first game was about as perfect of an all around game as you could want to start the tournament.
And about, I don't know, I think it was about 6 minutes in, they throw out Bennett, Marchand, and Hagel. And in that shift, I think Bennett had 3 hits. He managed to bump the goalie. Like I just can't imagine. And, they say you dump it in and you force the defense to hurry it up. Usually that takes a period or two, but by the end of the first, you could see that Czechia was like looking over their shoulder every time the friggin' puck went in.
The Czechs have a lot of good players on that team. Like that's obviously a really good team, and there was times where it almost felt like in beer league hockey where you would have that one team you'd play against that had all ex-junior players and they're just, another level. You're almost barely touching the puck. It almost had that feel of it.
There was so many times where they were just pinned. Like there was nothing they could do because of relentless forecheck and, like I said, finishing every hit. I wasn't expecting the physical side to be this ramped up for Canada this early, but they're not holding back.
You watch all these guys in the NHL, and obviously, they're great. And you kind of get used to the NHL hockey, and you think it can't get much better than that. And seeing these guys play with other guys as talented and able to think the game at the same level takes guys like McDavid and McKinnon and Makar and, name your guy, and it elevates their game to a level beyond what was already an unimaginable level of hockey talent. It's been so fun to see that chemistry come together so quickly with these guys.
It's funny because, like you said, these are the best of every nation. And there's the one point in that game where Radko Gudas is kind of left out on an island. He's got McDavid to his right or to his left, and 3 feet away, he's got McKinnon on the other side, and McDavid's got the puck, and he's, it's kind of what do I, what do I, and then even better is Celebrini's floating around in the middle of the slot, and it's just like the talent is unbelievable. But more to what you're saying, so it's the best of the best, and even on Canada. I cannot get over the fact that McDavid somehow still looks better than every single guy on the friggin' ice. Like, how is one guy this much faster than the best skaters in the world?
I feel the same way. It might be a while before we see a hockey player be this good. Like he's in his absolute prime right now, playing with the best players he's ever played with. And you see how happy he looks. Like he's wanted this opportunity for so long, and it's almost like they're competing against themselves to an extent. They don't want to let each other down.
And I just want to say, like, to the rest of the hockey world that's not an Edmonton fan, welcome to the show. Like, this is what I've been watching for the last few years. And obviously, his teammates aren't to the level that he's playing with now. But when it counts, this is what this guy does. And it's insane that he can actually take it up another notch from what he's doing. And like you just said, like, you can see Celebrini's now elevating his game, and McKinnon wants to be right there with him. And one of the guys who really stood out for me was like Bo Horvat is flying around the friggin' ice. Like I kind of thought, it'd be a fourth line guy. And I don't watch a lot of Islanders games, but that guy can flat out fly too.
I kind of had him more mentally pegged as more of a Mark Stone type of guy, like big body, good hands, smart player. When Marchand shuffled that little pass over to him, it was like a rocket ship going through the
God,
ice. Yeah, so and
what
that
a
was a
beauty
beautiful
finish.
beauty. Yeah, another play that jumped out at me just kind of the speed and the ridiculousness of the talent is Canada was on a power play in that Czech game, and Makar brought it up, and you know how they do that thing where the defense will sort of slow down, drop it off for a guy breaking. Well, they did the double drop there, so Makar dropped to McKinnon with a full head of steam, and then he turns it back, and McDavid picks it up for the second drop pass, and it almost looked like somebody hit fast forward on my TV there.
I have that written down too. I was just like, what do you even do at that? Like you got the second best player in the world dropping it to the first best player in the world, and I guess you just hope that he loses the puck or somebody gets in his way. But then earlier too, on another power play, they did like a fake slingshot play where Makar made it look like he was gonna drop it back, and then he went full speed, and you're just like, how do you even stop the zone entry when you've got all these guys that can just make everyone look like they're standing still? It's just an absolute joy to watch. I wish they did this every year.
Absolutely, and I kind of feel the same way with I felt the same way with watching Makar as you were describing with McDavid, where, over the course of the season, a Red Wings fan, I've been making my case for Mo Seider creeping into the Norris Trophy discussion. There's a lot of Zach Werenski buzz, and obviously Quinn Hughes is a great player. I don't think you could watch that Czech game and not come away thinking Makar's by far the best defenseman in the world, and I'm not sure it's even that close for second.
No, I would agree there. And the fact that he's got Devon Tays there with him, the the chemistry between those two, like Devon Tays is actually looking incredible to me too. Another guy that I don't get to see a lot, but yeah, Makar's just smooth, ridiculous. The other thing I was gonna ask you, is there anything you're concerned about with Canada?
Honestly, not really at this point. Like the goaltending was the biggest concern. Benner was dialed in. Thompson looked good in game two. I'm really liking the way Cooper's coaching these guys. My only concern is in these single game knockout situations, once we get to the elimination round, you saw it a bit with the Swiss team. They park the bus, so to speak. You get a hot goalie, and anything can happen in those situations. Is there
Yeah,
some?
that's well, the only thing I was kind of worried about, not so much the first game, but the second game, is we definitely handled the puck a little bit too much in our own end. Like it could have been 2-1 Switzerland really fast in that game. Just a little bit of overplaying the puck, maybe not moving it as quickly as they should out. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the best players in the world. You could easily hit a hot goalie, but it seems like, and I mean they haven't played at the highest level yet, but it seems like they're not interested in a close game. Like they're just gonna keep coming, and I mean it's kind of all heading towards a showdown with our friends from the south.
That's the thing that makes me the most nervous is, watching the US team and just remembering how close it was on the Four Nations. And I feel like you get those two together, anything can happen. Yeah, on paper, Canada's more stacked, but that feels like destiny right now, those two on a collision course for that gold medal game.
Absolutely, and the one X factor is this time they have Quinn Hughes, who just looked absolutely ridiculous against Latvia. I know it's just Latvia, but the way that guy's like, it's Makar 2.0 or whatever you want to call it, Makar light maybe,
Yeah,
but man, that's going to be a difference maker for them. I just don't think they have the same depth that we have, and I think just like we've seen, it's just going to wear you down. And just McDavid's will to not lose, I think, is going to be what gets us over the line. But we got to get there first.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm trying to, you know, channel my enthusiasm, but not get too ahead of ourselves. At the same time, you got to celebrate what we just saw the first two games and the way we're seeing these guys play and the style of hockey across this Olympic tournament is kind of like, you don't want to be hyperbolic, but it's just awesome. And even though there's a long road to gold, I think it's important to just enjoy each one of these games to the fullest.
And there's like, so the record for an NHL player in the Olympics for points is 11. And we're playing France on Sunday. And there's a legit chance that McDavid could tie or break the record in 3 games.
That'll be fun to watch the way he's playing right now. But you mentioned Celebrini earlier. I think we should chat about him a little bit because it blows my mind that he could have been on the World Junior team this year. And imagine what he would have done there. But for obvious reasons, he wasn't there. He's already looking like one of Canada's best players.
Yeah, like this kid is, when they mentioned that he was going to be on the first line, I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is just a practice thing. Because I don't watch a lot of Sharks games. I see the highlights and you see what this kid does, but I didn't know that he was ready to step up and be top line, top power play kid. But he definitely doesn't look out of place, and he's not as fast, but he's right pace wise with McDavid. It's unreal. This kid is going to take over this league within the next 3 or 4 years for sure.
And it's hard not to just like the kid just when you see
Just
the
always smiling.
he's got a huge grin, like the combination of like enthusiasm, the passion he plays for, yet he still seems humble, and he's just like loving life out there. And it's nice to have that little succession plan in place there for Canada's leadership.
And, you know, good job by John Cooper. Not, I mean, obviously this kid's ridiculous, but to put the kid in this position, don't bury him, on a third or fourth line. He's the fourth leading scorer in the NHL. Put him out there with the big guns. And when they went like full nuclear mode there with McKinnon, a Celebrini, and McDavid, I don't even know how you could have 7 guys on the ice, and I think you're probably still getting scored on.
It was great to see, and like you said, Swiss played a great game. They were kind of locking Canada down defensively. Canada was, not moving the puck as fluidly, and to just be like, we've got another level we can take this to if you want to play that way.
What do you think about the ice? I don't know if it's just the boards, but everything does look a little tighter out there. And I don't know if that's just the speed of the game because everyone's obviously peak level here, but it seems like I was watching Germany and Latvia before we got on here, and it almost seemed as you get later in the game, the ice gets a little slower. Like Germany had possession in the last minute and a half, and even just making passes, it seemed a little choppy. Obviously, it's the end of the period; it would be. Uh, I don't know if that's going to affect Canada maybe later on as we get deeper into this, slow them down a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good question. I didn't notice too much of a difference myself, but it is hard. It's almost, yeah, with the speed of the play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the only other thing I was going to mention with the speed of the play, what's also impressed me is not so much like how fast the guys are physically skating, but how fast they're processing the play. Because it's one thing to be able to fly up and down the wings. It's another thing to be able to, hit guys in perfect stride with passes and read the play as quickly as they are. That part's pretty mind blowing to me as well.
Well, especially when this is the only 2 games we've played together, right? Like to have instant thought of where a guy should be and where they're supposed to be. I was listening to Chris Pronger this week on Chicklets, and he was saying the hardest part of getting together with an Olympic team is everyone's playing different systems. And where he was talking about breakouts, and he's like, I know on my own team where everyone's supposed to be, but all of a sudden you throw a pass and your winger's not where you're used to be. So to see them snapping it around, like you were saying, it's a quick gelling, and maybe that's a nod to Cooper getting these guys where they got to be right away.
I think so, and I that was maybe that's a good spot to wrap it up for Team Canada is all the talent that we have. It could go completely sideways if you don't have the right guy in there managing the personalities. Like he's almost more psychology than it is anything from an X's and O's perspective that he's doing. But to bring all of these superstars together and have them embrace all the different roles they're playing and the amount of ice time they're getting. He's doing an amazing job there. Having that experience with 4 nations probably has made the gelling process a little bit smoother here at the Olympics, but
Yeah, for
yeah, I
sure.
gotta tip my cap to Cooper. He seems like the perfect guy for the job. Let's talk about some of the other teams. I think probably the best news story outside of Canada here is that Slovakia team and your boy Slavkovsky just taking his play up another level.
Yeah, he had another point this morning in a loss, but man, he's looked good. And I forgot how good he was it a couple years ago when they had the World Championships and he led the tournament in scoring, and I believe he won the MVP of the tournament, even though they didn't win it. He's been fun to watch. You forget, like, some of these ex-NHL guys that are also on these teams, you forget how good some of these guys were, and it's crazy to think they can't crack an NHL roster. Maybe they don't want to come over, but they've been fun to watch. Like I said, I watched Germany, Latvia this morning. Germany looked pretty good. They lost. Now they're kind of in tough sledding as they'll have to somehow get a point against the US. But um, Leon looked pretty good. It was par for the course. I kept seeing them getting kicked out of face-off circles for whatever reason. They hate that guy in the face-off circle. I haven't watched any of France or Italy. How about you?
No, I haven't seen any of them either. I've been trying to focus on the big teams, but I did watch the Sweden Slovakia game this morning. It was a fun one. Sweden needed to win by 3 goals to win their group, and they were up by 3. Raymond got a penalty right at the end, and
Yeah,
and Slovakia scored to bring it within 2. Funny being down by 2 goals. They're celebrating as if they just won the game, but it ends up securing them that top spot. So, that's one thing that'll be interesting for the knockout stages. If Sweden finishes last in their group or like third in their group, that's going to be a tough first round matchup for probably Canada or the US in the
yeah,
elimination round. So that'll be interesting to follow. The Finland Sweden game was a pretty good game. The Battle of Scandinavia there. Finland gets the win, but Sweden was really pouring it on in that third period. So that's probably the group of death
yeah,
in this tournament. Those
yeah. Finland, well, for 2 periods, just dominated Sweden, and then Sweden kind of got their shit together. But it's too bad that one of those teams is probably going to be first round fodder for Canada or USA. But it just goes to show you that there's not that much of a difference between being one of the top guys and probably losing first round. Like the everyone's catching up, that's for sure.
Yeah, so we're only a few games in, but it's lived up to the excitement, and we'll have more to report on from a hockey perspective next. In the meantime, we're kind of burying the lead here a little bit from an Olympics perspective. We had the 2-man luge finals earlier this week. We were talking about that on the last episode. Did you have a chance to check that out, and what were your thoughts there?
I didn't get to see the final. I did watch some of the qualifying. it still makes no sense to me. I can't wrap my head around it. I know we've gone over this already, but it's a crazy sport. Like the speed that they get up to, and you're literally, I guess you're going off memory of the track. I don't know.
Well,
Like what does the bottom guy even see?
that's what I was laughing at. I was wondering like how they decide who's the top and who's the bottom, but like, is there certain skills that you bring to the table as the top guy versus the bottom guy? But you're right. Some of the camera angles you'll see where it's like more of a aerial shot straight down. You can't even see the bottom. It actually looks like single, like
That's
one
what I
man
mean.
luge, and then you'll see the side angle, and you'll just see the bottom guy's head staring up at the back of the helmet of the other guy, and I think you're just hanging on for dear life unless you have that track completely memorized.
And could it not just be one guy with a couple of plates on top? Like, why do we need the second guy? Anyways, we we've talked about this, but it
Yeah.
just like you just said, how do you even know what's going on? There's just another person on top of you. But you were telling me about this relay, and now I need you to explain this luge relay
Yeah, I
because
was I
I
was
can't
trying.
wrap my head around it.
Essentially, it's like you have a male single luge team or luger, a single female luger, and then you have a two-man luge and a two-woman luge. And the single a single goes first. They get to the end of the track, and there's this little sign thing dangling down, and they have to sit up on their sled at the last minute and smack this sign. And then when that sign gets smacked, it opens the gate up at the top, and then the two-man team comes down, and then they smack the sign at the bottom, and then that opens the gate. And you have the singles, and then the final two-person luge. So there's basically four legs of this thing, but it's again, there must be pockets of the world where luge is a lot bigger than it is here.
That was another thought that I had. Like, these countries host the Olympics and they build all this shit. And then, like, what happens to the old luge tracks? Because it's not like I see a bunch of kids running out with their luge to go rip down the hill on a weekend.
I was thinking the same thing of like, if you and I wanted to get into luge, where would we even go to? I guess you'd have to live near a mountain, but I also
There's got
wondered,
to be luge. There's got to be minor luge somewhere.
you'd think you wouldn't just go right to going down the mountains. There's got to be like a Blue Mountain version of this luge track. But
Yeah.
yeah, I also wondered how many sports you would have to suck at before you landed on luge as your thing, because I can't see like that many kids, growing up just dreaming of being a great luger.
Well, and like if you're a parent, maybe you bought your kid a crazy carpet for Christmas. And no, little Jimmy here's really ripping down that hill. Maybe we should get him into luge.
We need to
It's a
harness
biz-
that talent.
it's a bizarre choice. He can really lay flat on a piece of plastic. Let's let's get him into luge.
Well, enough luge talk. Let's talk some of the other sports. I think the one that interested me is all the downhill skiing, that super G stuff, and like
Yeah,
the camera angles that they have. I don't know if it's drones or if it's just like these cameras on cables that are kind of following them down, but it definitely gives you a new appreciation for how steep these hills are.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, I love the camera and the production stuff that they're doing. Like they can take something like that I normally wouldn't really care about, and then like you said, you get a sense of the altitude that these people are flying down, more than past Olympics that I've watched, and you're just like, holy shit, like this is dangerous stuff.
Have you ever skied on like a big mountain like that, or just kind of
I've
local
never
stuff?
downhill skied in my life. I was
Really?
actually, so my son went cross country skiing and he mentioned that he wanted to downhill ski. And I said, you know what? That's something I've never done ever.
Yeah. Do you have any interest in learning, or is it a
Well,
little?
after I wiped out on my porch there a couple weeks ago, still, what's crazy is my ribs still hurt. And I'm not sure I need to be going full Lindsey Vaughn down the mountain right now. But I would probably try it like what's the one in Kitchener, Chicopee, where it's basically just a big hill or something. If they wanted to go, but
Yeah, I don't think you could get into too much trouble there. I wasn't a big skier growing up either. I went to like, Happy Valley, in Walkerton, which is even small, probably the smallest one you'll find. And then I probably went to like Blue Mountain or Talisman like a dozen. I probably skied 12 to 15 times in my life when I was asked by our friends Jay and Tim, who are big snowboarders. They were going on a Whistler trip. This was maybe 15 years ago. And I thought I was kind of in the travel era of my life where I was saying yes to anything that came up. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I didn't even have skis or anything. And in my mind, I just saw it sort of Whistler's this, just a really long version of Blue Mountain. And so I went in a little overconfident as a novice skier at best. Seeing these the Olympics and these like the steepness of the mountains, it totally took me back to this Whistler trip where we get there. I'm renting equipment. I got my size 13 ski boots that are like walking around in some sort of torture device. Skis slapping myself in the side of the head. I'm a little bit out of place there compared to like everybody that's got all the latest gear. Anyways, they have this one run called Peak to Creek, which is basically the very, very top of the mountain all the way down, because you take about 5 different chairlifts to get up there. So a lot of times you don't go all the way to the peak. You'll take 2 or 3 up and then go down. So I'm in line here and I've been white knuckling it the whole trip up to this point. Like these guys are doing the moguls. First time I do moguls, I do a full yard sail off like the third one. And then I kind of figure them out. I'm getting down the hill, but I'm not really enjoying it. It's just taking like everything I can to get down. So anyways, then we decide they just want to do this Peak to Creek, and I said, oh, that sounds kind of nice. And when we're getting on the last lift, the snow is starting to kick up a little bit more, and there's this sign that says advanced skiers only.
perfect.
Oh, that's definitely not me, but I didn't want to. I was already like almost up to the front of the line by the time I saw it, and I didn't want to like bitch out and see the sign. And so I'm like,
Were you hoping between that lift to the line that you would somehow acquire expert skiing knowledge?
I was hoping there was going to be a breakdown of the chairlift or something like that so I could save my pride. But in that split second decision, I said, you know what? How bad can it be? I'll go slow. I'll do lots of turns on the way down. So we get up to the top of this hill, the peak, and it looked like I was standing on Pluto or something. It's almost like whiteout conditions. You're almost getting like disoriented or vertigo from the way the snow is blowing down. And I get to the edge of this fucking hill, and it is so steep that I literally didn't know what I was going to do. So
Is
anyways, I'm
there a
like,
bailout option at this, or this is it?
I there probably was like you could maybe ride the chairlift back down or get somebody to, I don't know, but I'm
You
like,
had to wait for the next space shuttle to come back from Pluto
I,
to get you.
I just went for it, and I'm trying to like, it is so steep that I'm picking up speed fast. I'm literally trying to turn every like as fast as I can to slow my pace down. Anyways, long story short, I thought I was going to die up there. I finally, once I got down about like 300 meters or so, the main whiteout conditions dissipated, and I just like pulled over, sat down in a snowbank, and thought, what the
You
hell was
must
I
have,
thinking there?
like, what was you must not have slept that night. Like, the adrenaline must have just been racing through you.
That was like one of our first runs of the day, and I just was like, boys, I'm going in for the après ski. And I just went down and I crushed about six beers by myself. They kept going.
Just shaking the whole
Yeah, my nerves were on fire, and then my legs were so sore the next day because it's all quads.
tense.
Yeah, I've never been on a ski hill since that trip. I was like, yeah, I'm good. So,
That's
anyways,
incredible.
it just was funny how seeing these super G skiers going down. And the angles they're showing on these drone cameras just
Yeah,
totally took me back to that Peak to Creek run.
I would love to see drone footage of. So like, did you bail out a few times, or were you're just holding on at that point? Just
Was just holding on, and like there's like obviously you're going so fast, and I'm trying to go as slow as I can, but there's expert skiers that think they're friggin' Ed Potavinsky like flying past me. So I'm trying to go really slow back and forth, and like, you know,
yeah, yeah.
I'm trying
Were
to
you
go I'm trying to go
French
horizontal.
fries and French fries and pizza?
I'm trying to go horizontal as much as I can, and there's all these people just bombing down. So I'm trying not to get hit by people that are, people obviously thinking I have no business being out there. But the one time I turned, I almost like ran into the side of the mountain, and I'm like, this is how friggin' people die. Like,
Yeah. God.
so anyways, yeah, I was a little overconfident in my abilities, or didn't give the mountain the
Oh,
proper credit that it deserves. Anyways, maybe I'll stick with the cross
Bunny
country
Hill.
skiing. I don't think you can get into too much trouble there. Although watching that cross country skiing, is there a sport that looks any less enjoyable to take part in?
No shit. The guy doing the sprint up the hill there, I'm like, is this skiing or are we just running with shit on our feet at this point?
Like, it's an impressive feat of athleticism, but is it? He's doing like a 6 minute mile up this hill with skis on. Pretty impressive, but not something that actually looks that fun.
The only other Olympic thing I wanted to touch on was, did you see there was almost a curling dust up there with Canada and Sweden? How
Yeah,
awesome would that have been if there was a full-on curling brawl?
yeah. Canada versus Sweden. I'm all for a good curling beef to bring. I can't get into the curling as much, but you bring a little of that animosity. Apparently, it was a big hog line controversy.
Yeah, I actually saw a video of Jennifer Jones breaking it down, and they were accusing Canada of a double touch after the hog line, and you can't be fucking around with that stuff. If you're gonna, throw shots at Canada, you better come with some evidence. And could you imagine if there was a curling
You
brawl?
don't question a man's hog line etiquette. Those are fighting words.
Somewhere Ed Wernick was just making a fist, eh? The wrench.
The hammer. Was he the hammer or the wrench? It was the
I
wrench,
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the wrench. He was always mad about push broom hair getting in the way of it.
That's great. Well, that's yeah, quite a Olympic breakdown. For the first week, we had tons to cover on the hockey side and elsewhere. So we'll stay tuned for that. But Charlie, it's about time to get to our trivia for the week here.
Yes, we're on a
Yeah,
heater. We got one right.
yeah. Well, let's see if we can keep the momentum going. I actually got a special two-parter for you this week.
Cool. All
And it kind of still is along the lines of the points, but it was inspired when we were talking about the best Art Ross races of all time. And there was the one year I was looking at where Phil Esposito and Bobby Orr both had high point totals, and Phil Esposito had 152 points that year. And I made a comment on the podcast that, geez, when he got 152 points, he must have broke the previous record by a shitload. So I was just out of curiosity, I was looking into it. It turns out he actually broke his own record that he had set a few years back, where he had scored 126 points. So he had scored 126 points in 1968-69 season. And that had smashed the previous record of 97 points. So my question to you, Charlie, is who had the all-time single season scoring record before Phil Esposito scored the 126 points? And the reason this is a two-parter is because there was two guys that actually had that 97 point total, and they played for the same team. So I won't give you any more hints than that, but I thought I should provide a little context to allow you to give that some thought.
right. Okay, I'll mull that over and we'll regroup at the end of the episode.
Alrighty. Well, why don't we kick up the report card section?
I've been reviewing your work. Quite frankly, it stinks. These reports you handed in, it's almost as if you have no business training at all.
First up, I have an A for Taylor Beck. He's a kid from St. Catharines, ex-Oiler, ex-Islander, and ex-Nashville Predator. He put up the first ever 7-point game in the KHL, scoring 2 goals and 5 assists. I was kind of shocked that no one's ever done that. I mean, you can say whatever, it's the KHL, but I think that's a pretty tough league to play in, and to put up 7 points in any league is pretty impressive, but to do it in a professional setting, and he's bounced around the KHL a little bit, but I've 7 points in a game, no matter what level you're at. I think you've done something pretty impressive. So an A for Taylor Beck.
I've got a D for Lululemon and Canada's brown outfits for the Olympics. At what point did the color brown ever come into the Canadian color palette? I just don't get that. I don't think it looks great. The jackets that they were wearing for opening ceremonies looked like big sleeping bag poncho type things, but I don't have too much to say on that other than, a D for brown uniforms for Team Canada.
And the nice thing about it being Lululemon, it'll be extra affordable if somebody wanted to pick one up. Sticking with the KHL, I have a B for the KHL All-Star Game. They did some pretty cool stuff. They were allowing players to do whatever they wanted basically for the game. I don't know if you saw the clip, but the one team's jerseys were like gray and white, and this guy had his helmet and his visor painted up like a snow leopard. So the eyes of the leopard were actually on the visor. It looked really cool. But the other interesting thing was they had a goalie hardest shot contest, which, I mean, these all-star games are boring and stupid, but to just add a new kind of creative wrinkle, I thought that was kind of cool. So a B for the KHL All-Star Game.
I'm going to go with a C for constant obesity medication ads during the Olympics. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, this disconnection of watching the greatest athletes in the world on display, and all you're doing is promoting obesity medication. Why don't you just take a page out of what you're watching, get off your ass, get off the couch, and do a little exercise?
All right, I got a D minus for NBA fights. Now, the malice at the palace aside, because that was an absolute brawl. I don't know if you saw the highlights this week, but Charlotte was playing actually the Pistons again, oddly enough, and Musa Diabate and Jalen Duren got into a bit of a scrap. Maybe it's just my recency because we did that thing on Wendell Clark, and you see the absolute violence and no backing down of these guys fighting. But basically, the guy gave another guy a face wash, which probably happens 17 times in a hockey game. He does this wild swinging right hook that misses. And then all of a sudden, everyone's a tough guy. As they're backing away, there's hardly any punches thrown. And then the best part of it was Duncan Robinson sees what's happening, and he just throws his hands up and starts walking away. Like, just no interest in helping his teammates whatsoever. And it's hard to swallow that these guys are fighting. So I'm giving a D for NBA fights.
There's a lot of that hold me back, bro type of stuff where
Exactly.
guys they're trying to act tough, but nobody's actually interested in that smoke, as they say.
Yeah, 95% is guys just holding other guys back. Like, ridiculous.
I'm going to go for D, another D for national anthem close-up shots by broadcasters. Like, I don't know if you noticed that watching the Super Bowl or anytime there's a big game during the national anthem, the camera guy will be going along the line, and every once in a while he does this super awkward, I'm going to just hold a close-up on this guy for like 15, 20 seconds, and you see the player just kind of keep glancing over at oh, it's still on me. Okay, I'm I'm trying to like be patriotic listening to the anthem. I'm trying to pretend like this camera's not on me, but it's like still there. And it just like, it feels like very cringeworthy broadcasting. Like we don't need Sam Darnold's nose hair cropped up in the camera for 20 seconds. So I'll give a D to extreme close-ups.
All right, I got an A for the country of Latvia. 1.89 million population. And somehow they just keep getting into these major hockey tournaments and causing problems. Like they beat Germany this morning, and it's just a defensive system that I think somebody in Canada should be focusing on because they're not high on talent, but they get everyone to buy in on this defensive strategy, and they usually have a pretty good goalie. And you have to give a tip of the cap to Albert Smits, who's draft eligible this year. He just put up a point a game in the World Juniors. He got an assist today with the Olympic men's team. And, to have basically 2 million people to draw from, the fact that they keep competing in these tournaments, it's amazing. So I've given an A to Latvia.
Nice. Well, that wraps up the report card segment for this week, Charlie. Now let's head on down the home stretch here with our outro. I'm gonna come back to you. You didn't have as much time to think about it as some of our other episodes, but just to recap the trivia question. Prior to Phil Esposito scoring 126 points in 1968-69, the record for most points in an NHL season was 97. That was held by two players who played on the same team at the time.
Same team.
Can you name those players? Two
I
trivia
guess,
points up for grabs here.
So obviously, my initial thought is to go to at the time, the greatest scoring player in the NHL, which would be Gordie Howe. Am I in the right zone?
Not Gordie. No, I think Gordie was consistent, but he didn't have too many huge point total years.
Huge totals, kind of like Hank Aaron, never had a 50 home run season.
Yeah.
Man, I'm kind of drawing a blank now, and I know you're going to tell me, and it's going to seem super obvious, but
I can give you a hint.
Yeah, give me one hint.
Okay, one of these guys was kind of one of the first players to make a splash in the WHL.
Okay, WHL.
He also at one point had a vested interest in the Formosa Brewery.
Oh, man, I'm blanking on this. I like this question.
He also had a son that was a very prolific goal scorer in the NHL.
Oh, okay, so it's got to be Bobby Hull.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think of Stan Mikita.
You got it. Yeah, Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita.
I just needed 7 hints.
It's tough because you don't really think of Mikita as like that prolific, but actually it was kind of interesting. It's that period for, I guess, the mid to late 60s or early to late 60s. Stan Mikita was actually consistently up there as one of the top scorers in the league. So back when, a point a game would pretty much get you the scoring title.
That's crazy. And didn't Jamie Benn win an Art Ross with like 95 points like recently?
Yeah, I think in that sort of peak dead puck era.
Shit years, yeah.
Yeah. Before McDavid and Matthews and those guys came in, there was a bit of a lull in that changing of the guard. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's a good one. It's crazy that I want to look up now what Gordie's best seasons were, because it does seem like he is a bit of a Hank Aaron, where Hank Aaron has all those home runs, but he never had a 50 home run season. Maybe Gordie never had 100. I guess he didn't.
I'm not sure he ever scored 100 points, and I'm not sure if he ever got 50 goals. Like, I know Mickey Redmond was the first Red Wing to get 50 goals, and I got to think by the time he did it, probably Gordie's best days would have been behind him. So I know he played like 30 years or something crazy like that, and he was consistent, but I don't think he had any prolific totals.
No, I think you're right.
Nice. Well, we'll add that one to the trivia archives. Moving on and wrapping up, I guess we should touch on the Super Bowl. I think it was pretty fitting. We both picked New England to win. They obviously got their ass kicked in what has to be in my lifetime the most boring Super Bowl I can remember anyways.
Yeah, like I enjoy good defense, but
Yeah.
when teams like I couldn't get over that New England didn't make any adjustments whatsoever. And even Collinsworth was like, why aren't they going to a quick hitter, just get the ball moving? It was always drop back and try and pass, and he just had no time. And I'm happy for
Yeah.
Darnold though. Like it was a shit game, but
Yeah.
somebody's got to win.
For the first part of that game, I thought, oh, this is going to be a defensive classic. And then when I realized, like, I don't think New England's, they may not score a point the whole game or even get a first down, then it sort of took some of the enjoyment out of it. But for me, I know you got a couple picks right in the early part of the NFL season. I think I got every single NFL pick that I did this year wrong. In a way, that's kind of like reverse impressive, but
It is.
but
I
I don't
I
know.
remember we used to do the pro line. You could do 12 games, and it paid like I don't know. I think it was 1,000 to 1. So Tim and I used to always do these. And the one time Tim went 0 for 12, and I'm like, that's almost as impressive as getting everyone correct. And I felt like he should have got a prize for that, even your money back to go 0 for 12. Yeah, we were horrible on NFL picks.
Yeah, we better stick with hockey from our prognostication.
I was really pulling for the kicker to get the MVP. I was like, when it was, I think we were heading into the third quarter, there hadn't been a touchdown yet. And I was like, holy shit, like, what were the odds for this kicker to win the MVP? Because at that point, he was the only guy doing anything. Obviously, then there was a couple touchdowns and Walker went off a little bit. So it was pretty obvious the kicker wasn't getting it, but that would have been amazing if the kicker would have got it.
Yeah, I wonder what the odds would have been for that ahead of time. They'd have to be in that 20 to 1 range or at
I
least.
think even hundreds probably.
Well, I guess football's in the Bucks here now. It's
I
it'll
have to
be.
get your take on the halftime show.
It didn't really bother me. Like, I wasn't outraged about it. It wasn't my favorite thing from a
I can
positive perspective. I thought it was pretty cool the way they made it look like almost like a music video or something
yeah.
from a viewing perspective. But I was kind of neutral on it. I wasn't a big Bunny fan before. I probably won't listen to a lot of his stuff after, but I thought it was a well done performance.
Visually it was fine. Obviously it's not music for me, but I think that the NFL, and I can fix the halftime show right now, and they already knew the solution. The best musical performance at a football game this year was in Detroit when they had Jack White and then Eminem came out. Why not localize it and have, the biggest names from whatever Super Bowl city is hosting? Like, how awesome would it have been if Metallica with Huey Lewis did a Grateful Dead song, right? Just
That's a
to talk about, the culture of San Francisco, or I guess it's Santa Clara, but whatever. Just to localize it to where it is.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I think that would be awesome because you're right. That was so cool when all the Detroit legends came out
Yeah,
for that
amazing.
halftime. No, I'm actually, now that you mention it, it seems so obvious that it's surprising that they don't do that more often.
Yeah, just an idea. But I thought they nailed it
Yeah.
in Detroit and then went completely opposite for this. Although Green Day was awesome at the start. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, they were really good. Yeah, so it wasn't my favorite halftime performance for sure. I don't know where people get the energy for the outrage though, like
I don't. It's
to
so
like just
stupid.
like lose your mind for a week after. It's just the Super Bowl halftime performance, people. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's
This
not
isn't
worth
defining
having a
you as a
stroke over.
country.
Anyways, yeah, so it'll be Olympic hockey, and then they push to the playoffs for the NHL. So an exciting stretch of hockey coming up here. Charlie, we'll be looking forward to connecting with you next week. We should have when's the actual gold medal game scheduled
Next
for?
Sunday.
Next Sunday. Oh, wow. So we
Yeah.
could have our next episode could be a gold medal preview episode.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to that. Enjoy the day at the tournament here. You got another game you're heading out to here shortly. I hope is it the Twisters or the Tornadoes?
Tornadoes.
The
Tornadoes,
Tornadoes, yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe we'll see a Cougars Tornadoes showdown on Sunday. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your family day weekend, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Happy Valentine's Day.